Hi, folks. It's me again here. Sorry if I'm too loud on my microphone here. I wanted to talk about some things today. First of all, it's International Women's Day, so tag a woman who you find to be influential in this particular video. And obviously, I'm so incredibly thankful for all the women in my life. Obviously, the one who gave birth to me, and the one who is with me every single day in marriage and all of that. I wanted to first of all just commend women for what they do on a regular basis and the things that they've gone through in life and all of these kind of things. But I wanted to talk about a few different things that, may or may not be related directly. But first of all, shout out to all the ladies out there. You deal with more, and I can say this as a man, you deal with a lot more than the average man does on a regular basis through just being marginalized in our society, through all these different kinds of things that I could go on and on and on and on. And I am so thankful that there are ladies in my life who have poured into me, who love me, who speak life into me on a regular basis, and I will forever be grateful for your power and your wisdom. So wanted to first of all say that as we celebrate today. I wanted to talk a little bit about marriage from a husband's perspective as well, and how we see it in our culture, in our society, stand-up comedy, all of these kind of things. So I think you probably know where I'm going with some of this. But first of all, I want to say when I start talking about marriage, I am so sick and tired of the way Hollywood portrays marriage. And it portrays marriage as a complete burden on every individual involved and every couple involved. It portrays it as a joke. It portrays it as something that people get into, the old ball and chain and all that kind of stuff, all this stuff that we've always heard growing up, to the fact where marriage is losing its importance and its place in society. Marriage is something that is so incredibly sacred and lovely, and I just want to pay homage to that first of all. I've got some notes here, if you don't mind that I look at them from a husband's perspective. Hey Heather, how you doing? Good to see you on here. But I wanted to tell you a little bit about what I've been reflecting on and things. And for me as a husband, I had some thoughts about how a husband should treat a wife. And I can only give you my perspective because I'm married to one person, and that's all I've been married to. But from a biblical perspective, we see something very interesting. We see that the Bible tells us that the husband is supposed to love the wife, and this is an interesting little phrase, as Christ loves the church. So how does Christ love the church? We see in other parts of scriptures where Jesus describes the church as a city on a hill and a lampstand and all of these different illustrations. See, a lampstand is something that is raised up, gives light to the darkness, is very, very important because, it's describing this idea of we are raising up something so it's seen and so it's honored and so it's adored. So when Jesus tells us, and he describes the church as a city on a hill, it's a church. The church itself is supposed to be prevalent. It's supposed to speak life into the communities. It's supposed to do all of these things. Supposed to be seen. Supposed to be revered. Now, we see also the lampstand idea. We see the lampstand in the tabernacle and the temple and all of those kind of things. Essentially, the lampstand is supposed to give light to the people around them. What I see is that husbands, whenever we're described in this way, husbands present their wives to the world as blameless and lifted up. It's almost as if they are the focal point. and there's a royal feeling to it. So when a husband approaches his wife, and in this context, when we're looking at it biblically, yeah, we can talk all day about submission to the wife, and submission to the husband and stuff like that. But husbands really have a deep and tall order, as Sean says. Thank you for saying that, Sean. A tall order to attend to, because we are looked at as the people who lift up our wives and show them as perfect and blameless and all those kind of things. Now, if you're a wife today, you're looking at this going, whoa, hold on, perfect? I don't know if that's the word that I want to use. You got to understand my past and all the things and then my thoughts and all that kind of stuff. So by no means am I saying like you've done everything perfect, but the husband presents the wife to the world as royalty, as lifted up, as the light. My job in my marriage is to not only love my wife and serve my wife on a regular basis, which I fail at daily, but my job as a husband is to look at my wife as royalty and look at myself as a servant. So, like I said, I fail at that daily, and I don't quite get there. But we look at society, what society shows us, and we see a lot through media, through sitcoms, through all these kind of things that married couples are supposed to be at war against each other. There's supposed to be this underlying intensity and tenseness or whatever, and that's just not the way that it's supposed to be. There's supposed to be open communication, transparency, authenticity, accounting for each other's mistakes and foibles, and learning from each other. Even the sexual relationship, you have the next 80 years of your lives to practice and to get better and to learn more about each other, what each other likes and things like that. And I'm telling you right now that Hollywood is trash when it comes to understanding and conveying the sexual relationship. So I'll just put that out there. It is absolute trash, because we are taught that men are the hunter-gatherers and women are the prey. And that is absolute trash. So let me just get that out there. It's not the way it's supposed to be. And I hope that you don't ever think about that. Transitioning into this next part. So we understand, husbands, lift your wives up. You are presenting them to the world, and you are pouring into them. You are constantly feeding them emotionally, spiritually, physically. This leads me to my next point that I want to make about bad Christian movies. Okay, so we've had a lot of Christian movies coming out in the last few years, and admittedly, when you look at the way the cinematography and all these kind of things, the way that they were filmed, we can look at them and go, man, they were kind of poorly done, because we're used to the Marvel movies, and we're used to all of these sitcoms and rom-coms, as they say, romantic comedies, and all of these kind of things that tell us what life is supposed to look like. So we see a movie, for instance, that portrays a person who they spend all of their free time prowling and looking at the opposite sex as prey, or same sex, we look at this kind of thing as normal, that everyone goes around and sexually just explores everything in front of them. And I can tell you, name to me 5 people who do this on a regular basis and who do not carry the emotional and physical baggage from that process. So we look at these romantic comedies, we look at these action flicks, we look at all of these kind of things that the Oscars were just this last weekend, that we lift up as, man, these are great movies. But they portray situations in life that just don't exist. So then you look at a bad Christian movie, and here's the setup for a bad Christian movie. You have a person who, maybe has come a long way in their life, and they've gone through a past that they regret, and maybe they're going through a current present that they regret, and then someone introduces them to Jesus, and then, throughout this process, they come closer to Jesus. And let's just say that is the generic Christian movie. And people will look at that and go, well, that's not real life. But it really is. It really happens. And I've seen it happen over and over and over and over again. The problem is we look at what real life is and we think, I don't like this because I live this every day. So let's go over here to this form of entertainment and this form of trash over here. And I'm not against movies. Don't take me as saying that. I'm not against radio. I'm not against entertainment. I'm not a prude, and I'm not anything like that. But what I'm saying is movies often give us just the weirdest interpretations of what they think that life is supposed to be about. And we look at that and we think, okay, that's a good movie because it portrays life, when it really doesn't. So when we see a bad Christian movie going through these different things, and it might have been filmed hokey, and I get what you say about Christian movies, like the script is kind of bad. Okay, I'll give you all of that. That's absolutely true, and you cannot convince me of anything different. But what I'm saying is that portrays more real life than the person in this movie over here that spends their entire time having sex with so many different people that you can't even count by the end of the movie, and just people blowing up tanks and just all these kind of things that maybe in the military that's probably true, but I would say these bad Christian movies portray life more than our good Oscar-worthy contenders, so to speak. So we look at social media, we look at the apps that we have on our phone, we look at YouTube and all these kind of things, and we're salivating because we want to see how everyone else is living, and we want to see how things are going in other people's homes and behind the scenes. But really what it comes down to is that we have become a society of people who are so empty that we want it to be filled in other ways other than the way God intended. So marriage is a good thing. Now, not everyone is called to be married. Let me just put it that way. Not everyone is supposed to be married. Not everyone needs to be going down that road. But I will say this. I know for me, my wife is more than life to me. And I can honestly say that I can look at stuff that's going on in the media and everything like that, and it just doesn't seem realistic to me that makes any sense, that that's the way life is supposed to work. I look at people on TV and in movies that are going through constant struggle and drama. And by the way, I saw a good quote the other day, and this quote says, there will always be conflict in your life, but you get to choose whether there's drama or not. So just keep that in mind as you're going through life. So what have we learned here, if anything? First of all, women rule, so hooray for Women's Day. Second of all, marriage, if treated correctly, if open communication, all of that, if understood correctly, is an amazing tool to grow together and to grow closer to God, who created the whole thing. And also, bad Christian movies may not be as bad as what you think. Yes, scripts are awful, and sometimes the setting and the cinematography, but they're closer to life than what you think, instead of other kinds of movies that just don't portray true life. So I just wanted to get those things off my chest. Hopefully you got something out of it, and if not, move along. We're okay. We're going to be okay, I promise. So have a great day.